Hello, good morning and welcome to the next webinar in our What's New series. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business. Today, we'll be particularly looking at some new features that are coming to Microsoft Teams that you can use in your meetings and to just improve the way that you are able to present within Teams. Don't feel like you need to take notes or take it all in straight away, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar and a follow-up fact sheet. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. First up, we'll be looking at security options for Teams meetings, then slide translate in PowerPoint Live, followed by Teams meetings auto recording, organization-wide meetings backgrounds, and more new presenter modes. So these are in addition to the presenter modes we looked at a couple of months ago in this series. Finally, we'll be looking at what's next for you and your business. First up, I wanted to do a quick welcome to Bedrock. There's quite a lot of new people who signed up for today, so I wanted to give them a quick overview of Bedrock and who we are and what we do. My name's Jennifer Benge. I am the marketing manager at Bedrock. And like I say, we wanted to do a quick intro to Bedrock itself, just because I know there are quite a few people on here who have been to webinars in the past or you're even current customers, but there are also quite a few names. So Bedrock is an IT managed service provider and Microsoft partner. This means that most of the tech we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. So that's Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, SharePoint, all of that good stuff. The most important thing we want to achieve is to help your business grow better. We do this with the help of our 8 rocks. So as you can see in the slide there, the 8 rocks are skills, investment, collaboration, quality of service, security, backup, data, and strategy. So it's a combination of all 8 of these things that need to work together to make sure that your business has a great IT strategy and therefore could contribute to the business strategy as a whole. So kicking off with the new features, I wanted to start with 5 new ways to secure your Teams meetings. So in actual fact, only one of these is brand new. The rest have been there for a while, but it's always good to have a bit of a refresher when it comes to security, especially as September, we'll be using these meetings more and more. One of these, like I say, is the new feature, that is the locking your meeting from new joiners. But we'll be looking at each of these sticky notes individually, just to give you an overview of how you can make your meetings more secure. So the others in there are deciding on muting video and chat options for attendees, choosing who can present, choosing who can bypass the lobby, and checking permissions for people calling in by phone. The lobby means the person won't be able to see anything until they are let in to the meeting. So by bypassing the lobby, they don't need permission to enter, they're just straight into that meeting. You've probably seen this before in a meeting where you get a pop-up box saying waiting to be let into the meeting, and someone will have to click OK before you're allowed in to see the content. The options that you have for who can bypass the lobby are only you, people that you invite, people in your organisation and guests, and people in your organisation, trusted organisations and guests. So let's take a look at a couple of these in more detail. We mostly use, and I think most of the organisations we come across mostly use the people I invite option. So if you've sent someone a meeting invite, you expect them to get to the meeting. So that's the option that we would advise on the whole. There is something to clarify within this, is that anyone who receives the invitation, including those to whom it's forwarded, will be able to enter the meeting directly. There is an option within the meeting options if you don't want people who have been forwarded the invite to be able to get in. So you go into the meeting options and you turn off allow forwarding in the invitation itself, and that will stop that happening, and only the person who you have expressly invited will be able to get into the meeting. In terms of people who are able to access the meeting from trusted organisations, that's a list you can set up within the admin panels, so that people who are not within your work domain will be able to access meetings as and when they need to. So this is useful if you often work with a consulting business or with another organisation on a regular basis that isn't within your domain, but you know you can trust. You can add them to the list and they'll be able to get into all of your meetings that they're invited to without needing to be approved. You can find these meeting options and lobby control options when you set up the meeting invite itself. So you can see circled in yellow in the image, there's meeting options in the top menu bar and also within the invite text itself. So just click those and it will take you through to the following screen. This will open within your browser window. This gives you a whole list of all the meeting permissions that you have available to you to set. So we've got who can bypass the lobby, which is the one we've just spoken about. That is the top option in there, and you can just select any of these options from the drop-down. Next up, we've got choose caller permissions. With the caller permissions, we are able to say who is able to dial into the meeting and who has to be approved again with the pop-up window before they can get in. This just means that if you know you're expecting someone to dial in by landline or by mobile without the actual Teams app itself, you can allow them into the call without having to pass the gatekeepers. However, you know, it's quite uncommon for people to actually use that dial-in option. So you may want to set that as no all the time so that people can't get in unless they've got an invite, because it's harder to tell who's trying to join the meeting if they just have a phone number on there and not an email address or a contact name. I'm just going to pause there for 1 second because there's a question that's come in. Is there a separate option for whom can approve participants in the lobby? So there are options within Teams. Most commonly, it's already set up so that the person who is setting up the meeting, they're the one who can approve participants and do all of that. But you can also add sort of admins to the meeting who can do that approvals for you. Or just anyone within the domain can do the approvals for you as well. So if you're setting up for a big presentation and you don't want the hassle of doing all that extra admin as well on top of thinking about what you're going to say, you can select someone who will be doing the approvals and letting people into the meeting for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so moving on, after the choosing caller permissions, we have set rules for who can present. So this means that you are able to decide on who can present their screen in advance of the meeting. So obviously, as the person who sets up the meeting, you automatically have the right to present your screen and share your content with the meeting. You can select co-presenters to join you in that meeting who can also share their information. You can also block other people from doing so. So it's quite useful if you've got a big meeting, you think people might try and jump in for some reason, you can block anyone from sharing their content unless they're pre-approved for that meeting. Again, that's a drop-down menu that you can see in the image to the right. Next up, you can decide on mic and camera options. So say you're doing a huge staff presentation to the company-wide. It's nice to be able to have a bit of chat sometimes, but equally, you don't want people's background noise, someone's dog barking in the background, the doorbell going, someone who doesn't realise that their mic is on, maybe interrupting the meeting for everybody else. So again, in advance, you can choose to stop the mic being allowed for your attendees and just have the people that you need to be presenting able to speak. Again, with camera as well, you can do the same. So if there's any kind of distractions that you want to avoid, you can switch off other people's cameras and just have the focus on the people who should be presenting. Finally, we've got allow meeting chat and reactions. So again, I'm going to use the company-wide example again. If you want people to be concentrating on what's being presented, you can stop them doing the chat and the reactions within that meeting. There's a time and a place, I think. Sometimes it's really great if you have a big company-wide discussion and you have the chat going on, just to have people getting involved with the content. Other times you just want them to be purely focused on what's being said. So that's an option there that you can turn those off and on, depending on the kind of meeting that you're planning on doing. I can see there's some other questions popping in. Let me just take a quick look. Are these features available in the latest standard version of Teams? I'm afraid I don't know that one off the top of my head. I will have to double check that for you, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can on that. We'll follow up with them when we send out the recording. We'll follow up with the answer to that one. I'm not 100% sure, I'm afraid. And are there any new accessibility options for Teams for the attendees and the hosts? In terms of accessibility, we're actually going to be looking at a couple of options, a couple of new features that are coming to Teams as we move on in this meeting, because there are some new features that are coming in terms of transcription and also different language options as well that makes your meetings more accessible. So the final option for Teams meeting security, which is the new one, in case you didn't remember from those 5 options that we had earlier. This is the locking a meeting from additional joins. So this is a new feature that is released. It should be released now, so it will be coming to your Teams tenant soon if it's not already there. This just means that if you know everybody who should be in the meeting is already there, you can prevent anyone else from joining. So I know it seems like in the long and distant past that we had those Zoom bombing incidents and that was all in the news. This is just another feature from Teams that prevents people from joining the meeting that shouldn't be there. So you can check everyone in, know that they're there, lock the meeting, no one else will be able to join. This is in the meeting in the participants menu options. You can see there that the 2 options within that 3 dots menu are manage permissions, which means you can go back and change permissions while the meeting is in progress. So that last screen that we just looked at, you can change any of those permissions while the meeting is in progress as well as beforehand. And the new option, which is lock the meeting. You'll be able to do this while the meeting's going on and prevent anyone else from joining. So another little handy feature just to make sure your meetings are secure. Moving on then, away from security and into the accessibility, we're looking at slide translate for PowerPoint Live. Microsoft Teams recently announced a new translation feature for PowerPoint Live presentations. The slide translate feature allows users to convert content in their own language, but it will only be seen by that user that has selected it. The slide translation feature is only available to users if the presenter is using PowerPoint Live. So this is an option in the presenting in Teams presentations. If someone just does a screen share and shares a PowerPoint from their desktop, this feature won't work yet. They have to do it by choosing the PowerPoint Live option. It won't work on the normal screen share. The slide translate feature is currently available in 19 languages, including English, Arabic, French, German, Chinese, and Hindi. And to get there, you can see as this GIF is showing, it's very, very easy. You click the 3-dot menu in the meeting window, select Translate Slides option, and then choose any language from the list. It's very simple as well. If you wanted to change back again, you just do the same thing and click Original, which is at the top of the menu, and it will go back to the original slide language. So that's another useful feature that's just coming just to make everything a bit more accessible. If you've got people across different countries or you're speaking to a team in a different place, just to make sure everyone gets the full picture of what's being said in the presentation. On a similar note, Teams will now provide translated captions and live transcript in 27 additional spoken languages. This can be found in the More Options menu at the top of the meeting controls. Sorry, excuse me one moment. This can be found in the More Options menu at the top of the meeting controls. That's where you find the record button and all those other meeting options that are in there whilst the meeting is in progress. So you can get the transcript in English or in other additional spoken languages. Like I said, there's 27 different options for this. So another really useful piece of kit if you wanted to make sure that everyone across different language barriers are getting the full picture. We have tried this out, and I have to say the transcript AI tool that is being used is actually very, very efficient. It definitely does get the full picture of what's being said. So I'd say they're only going to build on that going forwards, and it's just going to get better and better. So it's worth trying out, just have a play around with, really, even if you don't need to absolutely use it at this point. The next feature we're going to look at is the ability to auto-record your meetings. Again, like I said earlier, with the letting people into meetings, sometimes when you're about to do a presentation or you've got a big meeting ahead of you, you just want to focus on what you're going to say. You don't want to be doing any of the last minute admin. And one of those things that causes extra stress is thinking, I've got to remember to record this, but it's just an extra stress that you don't need when you want to focus on what you need to say. So a nice simple update that's going to help you out with that is allowing the option to auto record. So again, ahead of your meeting, in the meeting options, there is a slider there that says record automatically. Slide it to yes or no, and that will do the job for you. You don't need to worry about anything else going forward. So that's just another weight off your mind, and you can focus on the meeting itself. With the recorded meetings, there is another addition to this, which is a new release, which is that recorded meetings now automatically include transcription. All you need to do is click the start recording button, and the transcription will start automatically. You go to the meeting options and select the 3 dots menu, choose the hide transcript or show transcript option. So this will show you the transcript for the meeting, and it will type out what's being said live as it appears at the bottom of the screen. And it will also do this transcripting if you are recording the meeting. So at the end of the meeting, you'll receive the recording along with the typed up transcript. So either way, you can catch up. You can catch up by watching and listening, or just by reading the transcript if there's something particular you wanted to look for. When the meeting's over, the transcript is immediately available in the meeting event on the calendar. Meeting participants can download it as a docx or a VTT file. And it's worth noting as well that this is something that you can change within the admin controls. If you don't want your meeting participants to automatically be able to download the recording or the transcript, you can change that and make it so that they can wait until you send it out yourself and make it a more manual process, or you can leave it so that they can download it themselves and it's accessible for the participants as and when they need it. After the meeting, along with the transcript, any other available meeting related documents will be there in that same menu. So for example, any attachments of documents, any meeting notes, along with the recording, will be available in the Details tab when you open the meeting event. Teams Live transcripts are stored in the meeting organizer's Exchange Online account. The transcript can be accessed through the meeting chat and the recording and transcripts tab in Teams until a meeting organizer deletes the transcript. So as the meeting organizer, you're always in control of what's happening to everything that's to do with that meeting. So it's up to you to decide where you want that transcript to go, how long you want it to be saved there for, and who you want to be able to access it. So that's another handy feature, I think, that I'll definitely be using. We sometimes use transcripts of meetings as it is anyway to type up some important tech knowledge that needs to be shared throughout the business. So this is a really useful way to just take off some of that manual admin and get it done for you straight away within Teams. Okay, another simple one, which I think can make a big difference to the way we all work, which when you think about it, you wonder why it hasn't happened before. Organization-wide Teams backgrounds. So Teams background, like I'm using here, you can personalize, and it can be branded to your business with your logo and your colors, and you can make it so that it's personal to your business. Currently, your end users can replace the background in a video meeting or a call with any image that they like, as long as you've enabled this feature within the admin panel. But they have to upload this image themselves. So even previously, if you've had an image designed for you, which I know a lot of companies did when we all suddenly started doing a lot more Teams calls from home, if you've had this image designed for you, you had to send it out and get everybody to upload it individually, which is just a pain really, and you can't rely on all end users being able to do that or getting it done. So Microsoft are introducing the ability for you to provide backgrounds that end users have access to across the organization. So when they open their background settings, it will just appear within that panel next to them, and they can choose the image that you want them to use, and it's very, very easy. So to do this, it does mean someone needs to go into the admin panel. Within there, you can add images by clicking the meeting policies and then the top right customize meeting images option. So within that side menu, meeting policies, then customize meeting images. And then from there, you just turn on the custom backgrounds and add your images. You can add up to 50 images in the managing background space. So for example, if you wanted to do some themed backgrounds, or if you've got an event coming up, for example, you could mention that within your background. Or you could have different teams within the business using their own personalized backgrounds. There's loads of options. I'll leave it to you with your creativity. But that's how you can do it. You can upload the backgrounds there and tell the staff just that the images are now accessible to them. Please use them for their calls. Simple as that. I just wanted to quickly touch on something which is actually non-Microsoft related, but it's if you are wondering how to quickly make your own background, there's a very simple tool called Canva, which you can use. The one that I'm using now was created in Canva. All you need to do is go to canva.com and you can get the correct dimensions for the image that you need for your background. All you need to do is type into the search bar in Canva, Microsoft Teams background. It will give you the correct dimensions that you need right there and then. So for example, this one is 1920 by 1080 pixels. You can drop in any logos and colors that you like, download that image, upload it into your Teams admin portal. Done. It's there for you to use for all of your calls and for all of your end users to use as well. Just stepping back one moment, I can see another question has come in. What about the ability to save the entire transcript of a chat after a meeting for later reference with links for attendees? You can definitely do that. So you can save the entire transcript, definitely, because that's already available for you within those saved options. With links for attendees, I'm not sure if it would how links would appear, because with the AI for the transcript tool is literally just listening to what you're saying, so it won't know how to hyperlink things, for example, if that's what you're wondering. I would say if you did want to send out a transcript following the meeting for attendees that included hyperlinks so they can access extra material that you've been discussing, you would probably have to manually manage that at the moment. So you would just download the transcript from the meeting, add in any extra hyperlinks that you wanted your meeting attendees to be able to look at, and send that out manually at the moment. But I will double check that just in case there is some clever feature that I haven't seen just yet. On the backgrounds, I can see a question's come in. What resolutions does Teams record meetings in? It used to be grainy 720, I think it's now 1080. Is there a way to choose the resolution? That's a good question, actually, and one that I hadn't thought of before. All I can tell you is that when we download these recordings we just chop up the beginning and end and then upload them into YouTube for future viewings. I know that I don't have to do a huge amount of work to make them not grainy. So I think I agree with you. It is now 1080 pixel, and I will look into it for you if there's a way to choose the resolution. But like I say, It's not something I've had a problem with grainy images when I'm uploading and reusing that content for YouTube for our website. So it's something that I can look into for you, but I don't think it's a huge problem if you did want to use recorded Teams content for other purposes. Let's take a look at our final new feature that is coming to Teams. So if you were with us back in our July webinar, we discussed the standout presenter mode for Teams. This is where you can appear in front of your content as if you're sort of in front of a green screen, or like I am now in front of this background, but you are right in front of your content and you appear as a small little presenter in the corner. Microsoft have now launched 2 new presenter modes. So you can see examples of these here. First of all, there's the side-by-side presenter mode. So you can appear in a box next to your content. And there's also the reporter presenter mode. So it's similar to the standout presenter mode in that you are a cutout in front of the content, but the content itself is shrunk down and put in a separate box. So you're not right in front of the content itself. I do remember from the July webinar, someone was saying that they found the standout presenter mode quite distracting because the person is in front of the content. So perhaps either of these two might be a better option. Maybe that's why Microsoft have launched these new features. We'll have to find out. Give it a go. Let me know what you think. To access these new presenter modes, all you need to do is click the Share Content button, as you would normally do. And then you'll notice in the red box on the screen, circled with the number 2, there are 4 presenter modes. So you can see there, the box on the left is standard presenter mode. That's where your content will just appear as usual and you're in the video box on the side. The next one along is the standout presenter mode, where you're in front of your content. Third one along is side-by-side presenter mode, where you and your content are both in different boxes side by side. And the last one is the reporter presenter mode, where you appear with your content in a box behind you. Once you've chosen which presenter mode you would like to use, you then choose which content you would like to present along with it and go from there. Again, it's important to remember that if you don't choose any of those presenter modes, it will always default back to the standard presenter mode. See, are these presenter modes available in the Teams live events as well as Teams meetings? Not yet. These are, I believe they will be rolling out at some point. It does seem a little odd, I agree, that these are not all available within live events yet, but they're just trialing them first in meetings, I believe. I will let you know as soon as I have an update on when those are going to be available across all Teams meeting styles. As a presenter, if you use presenter mode, can you also see the attendees in a bar? Yes, you can. So this is something that you can choose ahead of time. You can choose which elements you want your Teams platform to focus on. So there are options for making your content larger and removing people's videos, or making your content a bit smaller and being able to see people's reactions alongside. So those are options that you can customize as you go along. Okay, keep the questions coming in. We've had some great questions today. Obviously, as well, if you've got any sort of opinions as well on which presenter mode you might think is useful, or any of the other stuff we've covered, please feel free to join in the chat. Meanwhile, I'm just going to quickly cover moving along from what I was saying earlier about the work that Bedrock do. Part of our aim with our IT strategy review that we offer is to make sure that you've got those 8 rocks that we were talking about in place, ready to make a big difference to your organisation. So with the IT strategy review, we've devised a simple way to gain board level consensus on what you think is important, what we think could be fixed right now, and where you need a plan to fix things over a longer term. So why should you have an IT strategy review? The strategic IT review will give you the facts you need to make positive change, whether that's to drive adoption of new technology, hire an internal lead, brief a technology provider, or renegotiate with a current supplier that you have. We work with CEOs to figure out where the gaps might be in a setup and what we need to do to fix those and make everything work towards your business goals. So the Bedrock Maturity Index that we've devised uses these 8 rocks to say where your strengths and weaknesses are. So say, for example, you might have a fantastic backup strategy or some fantastic skills within your organization, but they're just being let down by some of the other options, some of the other rocks that are there that need to all work together to make sure your IT strategy works as a whole. So the IT strategic review will be able to overlook all of these things and let you know where the gaps might be. So let me just look at the other questions that have come in while I was talking. Can I use Teams in presenter mode to pre-record a presentation and then show it in the meeting? I do know this one, Andrew, because I have tried it myself and it was a bit of a fail, I have to say. It's quite difficult to pre-record these presentations and then show in a meeting without it actually happening on a live call. You can, I think it is possible, but it's not as simple as it sounds. I will catch up with you afterwards and let you know how I managed to do it in the end. They are basically designed at the moment to be used in a live scenario. So yeah, I'll let you know how I managed to do it in a pre-recorded situation, but they do work best in a live scenario at the moment. Thank you for your questions, everyone. I've just noticed we're pretty much out of time. So just to quickly let you know what's coming soon. Our next What's New webinar will be in the first week of October. And again, we'll be looking at the latest releases from Microsoft. So this will be across Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams. We cover everything as it comes, really. So at the moment, we are waiting to see what's happening within the next month, and we'll be letting you know those latest releases as soon as we can. So that will be on the 7th of October. You can register now on the Bedrock website and by going to the events menu, and click on that events tab in the menu, and you can register for any of our upcoming events within that. Also, this time next week, we do have another webinar as well, which is BYOD security focused. So with everyone working from home or from the office or all over the place, we have noticed a big uptake in bring your own device policies. So Adam Plevin, our consultant IT director, will be joining us again next week to give you a bit of a technology background in how to secure those devices if you have a BYOD policy within your organisation. So please do feel free to sign up for that as well if that sounds of interest to you. So with that, all I've got to say is thank you for joining us again today, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you, everyone.